Hello and welcome to A Review to a Kill, the James Bond retrospective podcast where we rewatch every Bond from Connery to Craig to review and rank each one. I'm your host, Special Agent Matthew Sedgwick, and returning for this debrief is an agent that's tougher than Sean Connery's hair glue.
I don't know, that shit was pretty tough, man.
Today we are reviewing You Only Live Twice, the fifth Bond outing from Eon Productions. The film premiered at Odeon Leicester Square in London on the 12th of June, 1967, with Queen Elizabeth II in attendance, and it also set an opening day record at the square. It premiered the following day and went on to be number one in the United States. Made for $9.5 million, the film made $111.6 million in the box office, so made for slightly more and made slightly less. Produced by the Brock and Salt Connection, Sean Connery again returns, but had announced this was his last film, leading press at the time to speculate if this could be the end of Bond itself.
That would be awful.
Dun dun dun.
The last Bond movie ever made, and they didn't get the chance to make the one that they really wanted to make.
Some backstory. Fleming had had a heart attack, went to Japan, wore a kimono with matching parasol, and wrote a Bond novel set in a castle by the sea in Japan, dealing a lot on the subject of mortality. It even had a Japanese-inspired 577 structure haiku poem in the beginning of the book. You only live twice, once when you are born, and once when you look death in the face. As we said, still wanting to make OHMSS, but having difficulty securing winter locations, Broccoli decided to make this film next instead. For days, they flew over Japan, looking for castles by the sea that the Japanese just never really built. Instead, they saw a beautiful lake-capped volcano, and history was made.
Man, was history ever made. They didn't waste their budget.
I need a hollowed-out freaking volcano.
They definitely got their money's worth from all of their helicopters.
Well, they got more than they bargained for with helicopters, something else we'll get into later. A tidbit here. The crew would have crashed into Mount Fuji on a commercial jet leaving Japan for London if they hadn't canceled their flight because, and I shit you not, they were offered to view a demonstration film of ninjas. It saved everyone's life. History would have been completely different.
This is the first film in the American zeitgeist to ever have or use ninjas.
Shot at Pinewood and Japan, Toho Studios provided sound stages, personnel, and the female Japanese stars.
If you guys aren't familiar with Toho Studios, just watch an old Godzilla movie.
The dots roll out and Connery's footage from the last movie replays, but this time it's so washed out that there's no saturation. And look close, it's black and white. They kept the deep red from Thunderball though.
Yeah, I like that. I even kind of like the black and white.
I wasn't too mad at it. It's a stark contrast when you do get to the deep red blood.
I dig it entirely.
The dot reveals a Gemini capsule, wiggling up and down in a geosynchronous orbit. Either that or it's hanging in one spot over a static blue ball with cotton on it while the cameraman walks toward it. No dolly, and Steadicam didn't exist yet. But fine, Star Trek showed them how to shoot space models years earlier.
Yeah, they did an excellent job.
No, they didn't. It was horrible.
For the time.
I just said Star Trek did this better years earlier. This was horrible. They had it on a string. The ball didn't even bloody move.
Did you ever see Plan 9 from Outer Space?
Get the fuck out of here. You're not comparing one of the worst things ever made to mainstream film that was made for like $9.5 billion in the 60s. Get out of here.
I suppose.
When I said Gemini, I meant Jupiter 16, so these guys were obviously Lost in Space fans. It all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
The two astronauts are preparing for an EVA, and it's all close, but not right. They address the astronaut, and he himself as well, by his first name instead of his surname. And they say the wrong things completely at times, then at times both. Capcom, this is Chris.
Man, this crew. There's just like, okay, go for it. You're space guys. You've seen it on TV, now do it.
Chris the astronaut leaves the vehicle. He is played by Norman Jones, and Paul Carson plays the other astronaut. Another spacecraft comes up from behind it. Astronaut Chris says it's opening up before it opens, and it encapsulates the Jupiter craft with an astronaut inside, severing the umbilical tether to Commander Chris and leaving him to the fate George Clooney suffered in Gravity.
Free falling.
Transition to B-roll of Norway and some Doppler radar domes. But in this movie, there's some kind of fancy secret top 3 NATO, just Russia, the UK, and the US. The main American is played by David Bauer. The Russian is George Marcel. Robin Bailey plays the foreign secretary. Ken Adam did an amazing job of building a memorable set that feels as if we're inside one of those domes. That said, it's still an odd room with them on a stage-like platform that's so high up. The background definitely makes me feel as if we were in the dome. It just also makes me wonder why they're there for this. And most of all, on a 4K screen, you can't not see the wrinkles in the painter's plastic they made the background windows with.
On a good screen, you can't help but see everything.
It's so illusion killing. America and Russia go back and forth hurling threats and accusations for the craft heist, leaving Britain as the voice of reason. Well, the object came down in the Sea of Japan, so fellas, maybe we should look there and blow up the world later. In fact, our man in Hong Kong is working on it right now. Hard cut to Bond, dining out on some of the best that Hong Kong had to offer. This is Ling, played by Zai Chin.
This is a pretty cool scene. Pans in on Hong Kong, looking like a 1960s Vegas.
Zai Chen was already friends with Connery, and of course is another female co-star of his to swoon and fawn over in interviews decades later about how excited she was to share a bed with him.
Weird, huh?
Every girl.
Every girl.
He had something. Because I've been staring at him for a while, and I'm like, dude, he's not the best looking dude. Am I crazy? Am I crazy?
He's not the best looking dude. There was something.
There's something about him, man. It must be those oysters. Maybe he was right.
Maybe he was right.
Bond makes a racist remark about Chinese girls tasting different. You think we better? No, just different. Like Peking duck and caviar. Yeah, I love them both. She goes, darling, I give you best duck. Which she says while flipping a switch that causes the bed he's in to fly into the wall, trapping him, and for gunmen to run in with automatics and fire into the bottom of the bed.
And once again, we are greeted with a death scene of Bond at the very beginning of the movie.
What? Another Bond fake out? No way.
Way.
You kidding? We wouldn't be doing this already again.
Yeah, but instead of a cheap mask, Sean Connery decided to just play the part of the dead guy himself this time.
The gunmen cheese it as a group of police run in immediately, and I mean immediately afterwards. I mean suspiciously immediately afterwards.
Like they were waiting outside the door afterwards.
They had their car like at the end of the block, and they were just waiting to see him run out. The Anglo cops check him and say he's dead as the camera pans and we see blood. Gasp.
Bond is dead.
Dead again. The opening sequence in Hong Kong used some various location footage of a street in Kowloon.
Oh, nice.
The band strikes up, and we hard cut to an awkward wire frame of a parasol with shots of a Japanese girl's face, volcanic mountains, and lava behind it.
Are we getting into the title sequence right now? Because...
Oh, you know. Unless you have something else to say.
Not really, other than how much this title sequence sucked. Just saying, I mean... That's the only notes I have for this whole title sequence. It's like there's no critiques, no...
That's as much effort as I put into some of my critique for Casino Royale. That's bad.
Right, yeah, so yeah, this title sequence...
This title sequence blew.
The only title sequence I don't like more is...
From Russia with Love.
Yes, From Russia with Love.
For considering mainline, yeah, From Russia with Love was bad.
Yeah.
This was not as bad as that, but it was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, not as bad as that, but Jesus.
They shot for 5 days with Jan Werrick as Blofeld. This was Saltzman's choice, of course, but Broccoli and Lewis decided he looked too much like Father Christmas and cast Donald Pleasance instead. Win.
Yes, getting Donald Pleasance was a definite win.
Saltzman sucks. I'm sorry. But going over this with a fine-tooth comb, I'm telling you, Saltzman sucks. There's a reason Cubby Broccoli took over the franchise.
Yeah, well, because Saltzman sucks.
They actually hired Japanese actors instead of their usual tricks of putting cosmetics on white people. They even sent the 2 Japanese Bond girls to London to learn English, with one threatening to jump out of the building when she almost got cut from the film due to a lack of progress in learning English.
Did you really? Threaten suicide?
No, for real. For real.
Holy
crap.
They
said, I'm going to jump out of this building then. And they said, screw it, keep her in the film and get Nikki Vandersild back in here to dub her lines. Problem solved, bitches. Not a lie. They switched roles, though. They gave the one that was doing better the one with more lines. and they gave the one that was going to be dubbed the other part. And since the girl did so well learning English, not only did they give her the bigger part, but they let her change her name from Suki to Aki, which is
Yeah.
more closely resembling her own name.
Own name, right? Yeah.
And her own choice, by the way.
Nice. God bless Toho Studios for doing what they do so magically.
It would have been the worst Bond film ever of all time if it weren't for Toho. I can promise you that.
If it wasn't filmed in Japan, if it weren't for Toho, this movie would have been naff, dude.
Oh man, their usual tricks, white people on sound stages and on the English countryside.
Yeah, wouldn't have worked.
This would not have been good. Peter Hunt wanted to direct and was not given the job. So he magically showed up on vacation at the same time and spot as the scouters in Japan, and Broccoli gave him second unit. So Peter Hunt is still supervising editor, but also second unit director.
And he just happened to show up. I think that's
Yeah, dude, that's what gets me. Like, he just happened to show up. John Steers and Bob Simmons are back. Norman Wanstall returns, but is sharing dubbing duties. That one feels like a demotion.
It does feel like a demotion.
Funny name this time, David Folks. How many F's, buddy?
2 F's.
1 F would just not do.
Folks. I always say it like that too.
Folks.
You got two F's in your name. You got to say
Fuck off, buddy. Titles by Maurice Binder. Music by John Barry. Title song, You Only Live Twice, sung by Nancy Sinatra.
As much as I like Nancy Sinatra.
This is my least favorite Nancy Sinatra song of all time.
I think so. I didn't even know it was a Nancy Sinatra song until I read the credits.
Yeah, this tainted her legacy to you a little bit.
It did.
Richard Maybaum was unavailable to return. They brought Harold Jack Bloom to Japan to write. He left the project, but a few of his ideas were retained, earning him the additional story material credit, and written by Raoul Dahl, the kids' book guy.
Yes, yeah.
Charlie and the
Charlie
Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, it goes on.
I know who you're talking about, yes.
That guy wrote this movie. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Now that I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
Ken Adam gets a major late credit for production designer, just 2 spots away from the producer.
Well, looks like he's kind of moving up too, huh?
I know, dude. Lots of promotions and one really, really slap in the face demotion.
Mm-hmm.
Director of photography, Freddie Young this time, who gets the closest thing to the treatment in the credits, as his name is accompanied by 4 silhouetted women, with 2 of them showing nips. Lewis Gilbert was called in by Broccoli to direct. He was a war film director riding high on his recent hit, Alfie. Gilbert brings in his own director of photography, as we mentioned, Freddie Young. So, out with the award-winning Ted Moore, who was supposedly busy anyway with another film. The titles dissolve into the film's opening scene so perfectly. The dark silhouetted mountain becomes the same mountain that we're actually looking at as we fade in.
A lot of these shots were straight Japanese cinema.
A lot of these really stood out to me.
Right?
Who thought of this genius-ass transition?
Yeah.
It sure as fuck wasn't Peter Hunt.
This sure as fuck wasn't Peter Hunt.
We pan over to see some naval destroyers. A man watches with binoculars with a newspaper telling of Bond's death in a headline. On one of the ships, the Navy is giving Bond a burial at sea and dump his wrapped body overboard. After it sinks to the bottom, 2 men in scuba gear forgot that this wasn't Thunderball and go to retrieve him.
I was thinking to myself when I saw this scene, I was like,
not again.
We got all this leftover Thunderball equipment. We might as well cram a little bit of it in this scene.
They shove him into a submarine before letting him out of the wrappings. They pull out an air hose from his mouth, and Bond sits up asking for permission to come aboard. The captain of the sub is played by John Stone.
Freshly pressed.
It was a fake out. Again. Hong Kong's Victoria Harbor is shown briefly in the pre-title sequence, but the at-sea burial of Bond and the retrieval of the corpse was filmed off of Gibraltar and in the Bahamas. Above water Gibraltar, underwater Bahamas. Obviously leftover footage from Thunderball. And it really was, too. They didn't go back to the Bahamas to shoot this.
No, they did not.
Bond walks into the next room of the sub and tosses his cap, because it's Moneypenny's office.
This whole moving M's office to a submarine, I was thinking to myself, why move everything to the submarine? The whole office?
You gotta have the hat rack.
Right?
You gotta.
Okay.
Like Bond, she's also in naval attire. In fact, so is M. When Bond goes into the next room, M is dressed to the nines in a naval uniform, 'cause they're on a sub.
Aren't they all in the Navy,
I
technically?
get it for Bond, he's a naval commander, but is Moneypenny? Do you have to be in the Navy to be a secretary at MI6? Get fucked, Army.
You might have to be.
That's absolutely fucking stupid. You served for your queen for years with dedication in the Army, so you can get fucked.
You weren't in the Royal Navy. That's totally different.
How dare you not serve over water?
Yeah, go get fucked.
This 3-room continuous subset is pretty good, actually.
It is.
Looks like we're on a sub at first, and then it feels like someone made offices on one for some reason with tacky wall paneling, but it's curved.
Yeah. It's a weird set, but it's well done.
This is the big one, 007. That's why I'm out here myself. So I guess that explains it. Bond instantly knows what he's talking about and that it didn't land in Russia. Are the Japanese able to launch such a rocket? He info brags. No, we don't think so. Well, then who is? Well, that's what you've got to find out.
Seems like Bond's already on top of shit. He already knows that this is something's going on in Japan. Somebody's got a rocket, and it's not the Russians or the Americans.
He already knows everything. It's suspiciously convenient, like the script is in his back pocket.
Yes, suspiciously.
Bond burns the paper given to him by M as it's flash paper meant to be destroyed. But this has never happened before, and he knew instantly to do it. So I'm assuming he got like some memo in between films.
Apparently, old school spycraft, they used to do such things.
Off-screen bullshit. I mean, he's never done this before, but he acted like it was second nature, like it was their modus operandi when they get an order like this. But really, they were just aping Mission Impossible, who was probably getting popular around this time.
Yes, well, it was also getting popular around this time. Green Hornet.
Don't you love when like things come out
Batman.
like to ape other things, and then the original thing starts aping the thing that's aping it? And this happens all the time, by the way.
All of the time.
Bond goes out to Moneypenny, who asks how the girl they set him up with was. Another 5 minutes and I would have found out. Tisk tisk, she'll never know what she missed.
Yeah, I like this flirt scene. It was pretty sweet, pretty simple.
Bond's relationship with Moneypenny and Connery, you know, like at first it was weird, then it got really flirtatious, and then it's just been like moving more and more,
Platonic,
you know, like
friendship.
yeah, it's very
flirting,
plutonic. It's very like old people friend talk, you know.
Right.
It's almost more like she spends more time in these past couple movies ribbing him about other girls than flirting with him herself.
Right. Not so thirsty, Moneypenny.
She gives him his code phrase, I love you, and asks him to say it back to her. We also learn he took a first in Oriental languages at Cambridge, 'cause of course he fucking did.
Of course you did.
Bond dons some scuba gear and loads himself into a torpedo tube. It fills and fires, and we have our movie proper. Hard cut to an establishing montage of Tokyo. Bond walks the streets and is made immediately by a Japanese woman following him.
When you're 6'2" in Japan, you're gonna stick up.
So every white person that comes to Japan is working for the British Secret Service.
Not every one of them is James Bond. They always know when he gets off the plane, remember?
This is when I'm going to land. This is what hotel I'm going to be in. Here's a key to it, and you better be in the bathroom when I get there.
You better be in the bathroom when I get there.
We're serious. We've gotten this straight with everyone at this point, right? He goes through a sumo bathhouse and meets Saranayama Shinmatsu, a real-life sumo wrestler cameoing as himself here. Saranayama gives him tickets to a sumo match, which he is then immediately taken to. They did not shoot the rodeo. They put on the rodeo with 8,000 spectators and real sumos going at it for real.
Yeah, a real-life sumo match in a real-life sumo arena with real-life Japanese people.
Toho saved this film, but the reason they did it is because they wanted to have some control over the depiction of their culture, and they were like, yeah, we'll even help you do all this, but you got to cast real Japanese actors to play Japanese people instead of doing your normal shit. So this movie, incredibly underrated.
Incredibly underrated.
Would be exactly how a lot of people like see it when they think back on it without hearing anything or just reading reviews. It could have been that bad, but honestly, it's not. This has an amazing blend of, you know, Western cinema with Asian cinema.
Asian cinema, yeah.
A woman approaches him and sits next to him silently. After a while, he awkwardly says, I love you. She says, I have a car nearby. What do you suggest we do? I have a hotel where your friend Daikon Henderson is waiting. This is Japanese agent Aki, portrayed by Akiko Wakabayashi. Aki drives him to the hotel in a 1967 Toyota 2000 GT. Now, this vehicle was unique as the 2000 GT did not have a convertible version, but due to his height, Connery could not fit in the car. And thus, Toyota built two one-off cars for this film. One is in a museum, and the gadget-filled one disappeared on tour.
Did it disappear? Somebody stole
Somebody stole it.
MG gadget.
Mm-hmm. This is Aki's Japanese Secret Service spy car, and it's the closest thing Bond drives because he doesn't drive anything, but he's ferried around in this the whole time.
Yeah.
So this is your Bond car.
I dig the MG.
I actually liked this car. I actually did
too.
Yeah. I also want to throw in a correction for the last film. In Thunderball, I missed that he drives to Largo's in a 1965 Lincoln Continental. Just a short throw in since it applies real quick. Back to this film. Aki drops him off at Henderson's spot. Deco Henderson is played by Charles Gray, who will be Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever.
Right on, that's cool.
But again, back to this film. Bond walks in and pulls a gun on Henderson, who's walking with a cane and a limp. Bond takes the cane and smacks his left leg hard, and we hear the sound of wood on wood. Or at least what the Foley engineers thought wood on wood sounded like. Indiana Jones sound effects.
The Foley engineers back in the day.
Bond was checking to make sure he wasn't an imposter, and the real Henderson apparently does have a peg leg, which he lost in the war. He also refuses to let go of some of his English culture, though he's dove into Japanese culture, so the set is an amazing mix of both. And I was telling you, Carter, when we were talking about this set, it's a microcosm for the film.
Yes.
In itself.
Yeah, it is. It is, isn't it? A nice blend of Western and Eastern cultures.
That works, where they complement each other.
And it works, yeah.
Henderson sets him up with a contact, Tiger Tanaka, the head of Japanese Secret Service. Henderson goes to spill some more beans, but is stabbed in the back through the paper wall. Bond bursts through it and chases down the assassin, stabbing him to death with the man's own switchblade. The assassin was also ahead of the curve on COVID, so he's got a mask on.
Yeah, classic Asian assassin stabbing through paper walls.
And, it's like, maybe you guys should have glass and brick. A little bit more secure. Bond switches outfits with the dead assassin and dons the mask before going down to the getaway car. Bond feigns injury in the back of the 1964 Dodge Polara, driven by Peter Maivia. The getaway driver is literally and really the grandfather of The Rock.
Is it really?
I shit you not, it's Peter Maivia.
Wow. The Rock's grandfather
The
was
Rock's
in
granddad.
You Only Live Twice.
Only lived twice. And his credit was the driver.
The driver.
He's one of Osato's thugs and heads back to Osato Chemical and Engineering, carrying the supposedly grievously wounded assassin into the building with him, all the way up into the penthouse. I want you to think about all of Ken Adams' design so far. Now add Japanese elements. Boom, that's the penthouse. You should have a pretty good idea if you have a good imagination.
Oh, man. The penthouse was pretty dope.
No, it was really good. And it gets better when we go into the main office.
Yeah.
Because it is the classic office penthouse studio thing that they love doing.
Right.
Maivia, who is what I will call him since they didn't give him a real name, drops the body and takes the mask off, revealing Bond, who is grinning and saying, "Good evening," whilst trying to pull his Walther. Maivia grabs his arm and lifts him from the couch, tossing him. Bond throws a punch, and Maivia judo flips him, and god fucking damn it. You have a legit wrestling legend, and Bob has him doing the same old shit.
The same old shit, but it looks a lot better because you have a legit wrestling legend performing and selling.
That's why Oddjob looks so good.
Yeah.
Harold Sakata.
Yeah.
He throws Bond through the paper wall. Bond beats him with a couch. No, for real.
He does. He for real beats him with a couch. I'm like, how light is this couch?
He straight picks up the settee lengthwise from one end and rams him with the other.
Yeah.
For a good bit, too, until the angry Maivia swats it away. Where's the Samoan drop or inverted Boston crab, huh, High Chief? This set is impeccable, honestly, with lines drawing you down the length of the room while the floor is almost a stage for their fight that curves around the room. Japanese statue stand as silent witnesses, and in the back, a giant bleached tree. All wood and earth tones that play with the light and against the marble floor. You know, we don't say this enough, but kudos to the lighting department on these early films.
Kudos to the lighting department on these early films. We don't say it enough.
Bond grabs the sheathed katana and is flipped as Maivia takes it and unsheathes it. He viciously attacks Bond with the sword until Bond flips him, causing him to drop it. Bond grabs a small statue and breaks it over Maivia's back, knocking him the fuck out. Bond stuffs him into a walk-in liquor cabinet and steals a shot of vodka before almost retching. Siamese vodka, he says disdainfully.
That's one thing I've never had is Siamese vodka. So
I'm not going to even pretend I've even
heard of it.
I've never
Yeah.
had that.
Yeah.
On the subject of alcohol, I never drink. I drink like maybe once, maybe twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Vesper tonight.
Very nice. Vespers are always good.
Bond finally spots the half-exposed safe that's been staring him in the face for a moment and whips out his Q-branch safecracker that he, of course, just has. And why wouldn't you? I have mine at all times.
Yeah, I was like, so you're just carrying around your Q-branch spycracker just in case you come across a safe?
One thing you'll notice about this is Tiger will hit him up with some gadgets, and Q will show up with little Nelly and some things, but
not a lot.
For the most part, whatever gadgets are in this film for Bond to use, he just has. He's just had, he just happened to have them, he just needed it, and just don't question it.
Don't question it.
2 guards are stalking the hall, and the footsteps get louder and louder as Bond gets nervous. But we, as an audience, have no reference for where they are in correlation to him, and nothing was done by either side to change the situation or make it go away. It just does on its own. Real tense.
Real tense.
Bond opens the safe, grabs the contents, and runs for the door as it's tripped in alarm. Those same 2 guards come running back as he hides behind a cabinet, and how does this shit keep working?
I don't know, but it works almost every time.
He lightly hides behind corners all the time.
Nobody checks the corners in Bond movies. I guess it's not just
Mm.
Bond, it's nobody.
He ducks out, and they fire at him. He runs out into the parking lot and shoots a guard in the gut. Aki pulls up screaming for him to get in. They drive off, and Bond is suspicious of Aki. It doesn't help that she parks the car and runs into a building, slamming a loading bay door behind her and running into some abandoned Tokyo tubes.
Let's talk about that car chase for a little bit. You can't get more typical than 6 guys. They could have been wearing just domino masks, standing out the side of their car, blasting their Tommy guns. It was awesome. I dig everything they do with this movie.
Bond catches up to her, and as he's approaching, the floor gives way. A trapdoor that he slides down for so long that they could charge tickets.
It did look like an amusement funhouse ride, didn't it?
Bond lands in a chair in another amazing Ken Adam job. This film has some of his best work so far, if not his best so far.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Even the security monitors scream Ken Adams.
Yep.
It's circular and they move. It's just insane.
Ken Adams inspired a lot of apartments. I'm going to tell you that right now.
This office belongs to Tiger Tanaka, the head of Japanese Secret Service, as I said before. He's played by Tetsuro Tanba, but dubbed by Robert Rady.
Aha. Okay. That's fair.
Tiger is the Japanese Bond. He drips swagger and cool. He ribs Bond for being so easily caught and identifiable. He plays dailies of the scene we just saw on those moving security cameras.
I was like, how did he get this footage? And then I was like, he is straight up roasting James Bond about the pussy. Just roasting him about the pussy.
Bond says, if you're Tanaka, how do you feel about me? I love you, he responds. Relaxed, Bond shows him the papers he stole from the safe. They're invoices, and from them, they learn that Osato has ordered an ungodly amount of liquid O2. Tiger has a private train for safety, which is smart, but it's decked out like it belongs to Bill Gates.
Man.
The Japanese Anglo set theme continues, but this also has this large gold statue on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In the back.
They drink sake that Bond swears he loves, but most especially when warmed.
To a perfect 96-something degrees.
It's like to the perfect proper temperature. And then, of course, Tiger's like, oh, you're very well cultured for a Westerner. Because, of course, it's Bond. He's got to be better than everyone.
Right, yeah.
Because he knows sake's supposed to be warm. Suck my dick. The papers Bond stole also had a single film negative that Tiger's men have developed. It's a boat somewhere, but there's also a microdot. This photo was taken by some poor American tourist lady that Osato had murdered as a loose end when they got the film from her. They zoom in and see the vessel is named Ningpo, out of Singapore. Tiger says to his men to check that ship out. Bond says, "What's that on the left?" So, I was about to praise them for just zooming into a blurry photo instead of the impossible zoom and enhance trope.
But they enhanced.
But when they zoom in even further here to see this tiny boat that would have been a pixel in the original image, I'm like, okay, this is bullshit now.
They zoomed and enhanced. Every time they do that nowadays, I'm like, that's not how that works.
You can even distinctively see where they cut to the new photo during the zoom transition.
Yeah.
It's diving girls, and Tiger says, give him time and he'll peg down the coastline. Now, crossfade to Tiger's estate. Bond wants to meet Osato, which Tiger will arrange, but business first. Tiger business. Tiger and Bond dress in yukatas, and Tiger has his 4 servant women bathe Bond. Rule number 1, never do something for yourself that someone else can do for you. And rule number 2, in Japan, men come first. My man.
Tiger Tanaka's a pimp. I'm pretty sure he's in the Yakuza. I'm just saying. He seems like he's in the Yakuza.
Dude, would it surprise you? Think about this. He's head of the Japanese Secret Service, but he also has his own bloody ninja school, which we'll get into. He also
has a full fleet of female servants on his beck and call.
Come on.
Yakuza.
The girls bathe Bond. Your English girls would never perform such a simple service. Oh, I could think of a couple that would get around to it. Oh, Miss Moneypenny, perhaps. Tiger laughs as Bond looks over, shocked. We have our sources, Bond's son, just like you.
Tiger, well informed. See, that was an info brag for Tiger right there.
Because he literally is the Japanese version of Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger ribs Bond again for his hairy chest, and Bond says, Japanese proverbs say, bird never make nest in bare tree.
Does it, though? I don't. I've never heard that proverb anywhere outside of this movie.
It's fair. I do love Tiger, though, and I love these interactions.
Oh, I do, too.
Bond says Osato is a front for Spectre, and Tiger says, maybe, but more importantly, which of these hoes you want a massage from?
Yes, he does. Tiger is all a man about business, and business is pleasure.
Yeah, Tiger business. Bond says he'll take the closest one, and she stands spread over him, while Tiger says, good choice, she's very sexiful. He's like if Karim didn't want kids and like saw women as like even more of useless holes. But he's also doesn't have like the soul of Karim either.
No, he doesn't.
He does feel more like every madman from the 60s because of his closeness to Bond.
Yes, he does. He doesn't have the soul of Karim Bey. Man, he's got the swagger of both of them.
It's very true. He is a pimp.
He's a pimp.
Gianna Rowland plays the masseuse here, but she's swiftly swept aside by Aki, who's come to make him come.
Dear sweet Aki.
I love Aki. Oh my god. We'll talk about the Aki kissy thing at the end, because I have things I want to say about that. I love Aki. I hate kissy. You can tell by now that this is the larger role of Aki, who was given to the girl who progressed more in English studies, as she's certainly not dubbed.
Yes, not dubbed at all.
Bond goes to Osato's high-rise. Even the lift boy is scarred and menacing. Under the guise of a Mr. Fisher, Bond goes back to the very office he had a fight in the night before. As he inspects the replaced statuette that he smashed Maivia with, the clerk outside watches him on CCTV. Smiling and noting the tell.
You notice that those guys were using the most high-tech computers of their time?
The security footage here, for once, isn't footage from the film. They shot high-angle, grainy footage. Bloody, finally. No dailies joke this time.
Right?
There's also a turreted pistol in the roof, as if it's like a security camera, but like super obviously a gun. Even Bond notices it super fast.
This is high-tech security, man. You got a pistol in the roof.
But ultimately, Bond ignores it. Oh, look at that. It's a pistol. And he's like, cool, I'm going to turn my back now.
Right?
Immediately.
Well, he's got to ignore it because he's not there for the pistol.
Yeah, he had to play it cool. He had to pretend like he didn't see it,
Right.
didn't realize it would be anything. Like, why would they have a gun? Like, and he just got nothing to hide. You're 100% right. But it's not as funny that way, Carter.
Yes.
A helicopter lands, and into the penthouse comes Mr. Osato, played by Teru Shimada, and his German assistant, Helga Brandt, played by Karin Dor. Brandt offers him champagne, which he uncharacteristically refuses, citing the time of the morning. But really, he was sweating them opening the liquor cabinet and finding Maivia.
Right.
Which she notices with a smile as she retrieves the drink, revealing Maivia was gone. On that note, then, Bond will definitely have some champagne. When showing Bond, we see him shot as normal, as we usually see him shot for conversations in the last 5 movies. Because as for Bond's perspective, everything is normal. But when showing Osato, we see him raised, and behind his desk, the desk has this large, polished plate on the front, reflecting Bond perfectly, but more importantly, reflecting him below Osato. Now, this is brilliant. This is absolutely fucking brilliant. This is Osato's false perspective of dominance and power over Bond. He sees himself as over him, and the actor portrays this perfectly the whole time. But it's an illusion. It's just a reflection underneath him, not the man. And this is also the last scene you'll see confidence in this actor's face, by the way. He plays the rest of the movie like a coward.
Yes, he does.
And it's because the character is a coward, and this false air of confidence and dominance is taken away immediately when he realizes he's a pawn in the game, not a player.
Right.
I actually give the actor some props. He knew exactly how to play his face in this.
A lot of these Japanese actors that they hired, they've been acting for a while in other movies and flicks and shows, so a lot of them are accomplished actors in their own rights.
Osato flips a switch and X-ray images show Bond is strapped. So Osato says, "Don't be so risky, Mr. Bond. Give up smoking, it's bad for your chest." As Helga Brandt gives Bond his drinks with her tits in his face, saying, "Mr. Osato believes in a healthy chest." Yeah, bet he does. Karin Dor was almost crushed by stage lights that fell on her marker seconds after she left that spot filming this scene.
Really?
I almost died on set.
That's crazy. I wonder how many people lights killed back in the day.
Especially if you were a lighting person and you were mad at an actress for breaking up with you for another actor. It was an accident. What happened?
It was an accident.
Bond makes an order for fermentation chemicals, and Brandt gets his hotel to drop shit off later. Bond and Osaka shake hands, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but Bond subtly bows at the Japanese men in this movie, even his enemies.
Yes.
He knows this guy's he's still respecting his culture very well, actually.
Yeah, he is very respectful of the culture, and he is playing a role. That's what an American businessman would do in that, or a British businessman would do in that situation.
Not that it matters, though, because Osato orders Brandt to have him killed as soon as Bond leaves the office.
Kill him! He's got a gun!
4 goons in a 1966 Toyopet Crown Deluxe cock their weapons and roll behind Bond as he walks away from the building. And mirroring the earlier rescue, Aki screeches in with her Toyota 2000 GT, screaming for him to get down. He dives behind her open convertible as they fire into it with automatic fire.
Yeah.
So long, Aki.
Yeah.
The bad guys drive left around the roundabout really quickly, but at the same time, Aki speeds forward the other way so the bad guys don't get ahead of her and ruin the chase sequence. Like, it made no sense for any reason other than to make sure that she stayed ahead of them. But if you're trying to get away from them, all right, just watch it and your brain will know.
Right. You're not wrong.
The chase is fast and exciting. Probably the best shot car chase that we've had so far in this series, if I'm being honest.
Not too much overclocking.
There was no overclocking. It was perfect. That was very well timed. If they bumped it up, it was by small percentages.
Yeah, no, it was a great chase. That's Japanese cinema.
It was amazing. It is not anything like anything we'd seen in a Bond film so far.
Right.
It's far more reminiscent of stuff we'd seen in American cinema in 10 years when it became more inspired by stuff that Hong Kong and Japanese movies were doing now.
That's absolutely correct.
which is a lot of things you'll see. Gives you that feel. It's like, man, play some funk music, and this feels like a 70s show or movie. And it's like,
I'm
wow.
beginning to believe that this movie's was like a spotlight on Japanese cinema for a lot of people.
So the chase definitely is amazing, but every time the Foley guys play the bullet spray sound effects is when you can perfectly see on screen that the goons clearly cannot see their target due to the constant cornering.
No, yes, you absolutely can tell. They can't see what the fuck they're shooting at.
Aki calls Tiger to get the goons off her. She asks for the usual reception, please. So, after they get to the outskirts of the town, a Boeing Vertol CH-46C Knight with a junkyard magnet attached to it flies over the goon sedan, picking it up off the ground, and this was done for real. We keep saying this. This was done for real, and we keep acting shocked about it, but goddamn, they lifted a car up with a magnet in a helicopter.
Yes, they did. They're crazy. Bond, I'm beginning to believe that the people who work on Bond films were like the Tom Cruises of their days. Like, how can we keep amping it up with the realness?
The chopper takes the car by air with all men, story-wise, not stunt-wise, and drops it into Tokyo Bay. How's that for Japanese efficiency? She says, just another drop in the ocean.
Yeah, that was an alright one. Not my favorite, but an alright one.
Tiger also tells Bond that the marine vessel Ningpo is owned by Osato, surprise, surprise.
Dun dun dun.
And it's loading in the Kobe docks. Bond asks Tiger to tell M to send little Nelly and her father. At the Kobe docks, Bond finds the Osato turpentine tanks being loaded onto the Ningpo and realizes they're ice cold from condensation, as it's actually the liquid oxygen rocket propellant. A forklift driver tries to gore them, but crashes when Bond moves slightly to the side.
Just out of the way.
All the goons grab weapons and square up. Being surrounded, Bond and Aki run up some stairs. Bond shoots one goon, then another, who does a nice 30-foot stunt dive.
In this scene, this is where you get your wushu action without kung fu. You got your whole Japanese mob, and, you know, they have their typical cleavers and sticks.
This almost feels like Jackie Chan.
It almost feels like Jackie Chan stuff.
There's stuff going on, not what he's doing.
Right, yeah. Definitely wushu vibes, except our protagonist has a gun and doesn't know kung fu.
Yeah. Bond sends Aki away to safety and to have the ship followed. Meanwhile, he takes off leading the goons away. Bond shoots another man and makes it to the rooftops, and we are treated to something different. A super wide helicopter shot of the chase/fight on the rooftops. And it's amazing, honestly.
It is pretty awesome.
It's very indicative of that Hong Kong cinema that inspired it, the 70s style of cinema in America that'll come after it. In fact, this movie is heavily inspired by Hong Kong cinema, and it does feel like a 70s movie in the 60s, with the only thing missing being that funk music.
Yes, it does. You know, Green Hornet had just started the year before this movie was made.
Bond fights off and runs from swathes of goons before finally diving onto a pallet on the upper docks. Very glad those were not bags of concrete.
Right? A lot of falls in this movie. I applaud the stunt work.
Then he immediately dives from even higher up onto another pallet of boxes. Great fucking stunts, and a lot of them. Bond straight parkoured away.
He sure did. He straight parkoured out of there.
In Bond style, he straightens up and calmly walks away, but is knocked out from behind by a lanky goon.
Yeah, because they were hiding behind a corner. Nobody checks their corners.
Osato orders him to be bound in Brandt's cabin on the Ningpo. Brandt is apparently Jack Bauer's grandma and has a drawer full of surgeon's tools. It's the top drawer of her dresser in her personal cabin.
Jack Bauer's grandma.
She shows him a flaying type of tool and says, "Don't make me use this," as she puts it in his breast pocket. Then she gets face to face and beams her eyes at him. So he says, "Fuck it. What's a pretty girl like you doing in a place like this?" And she just kisses him. And it's not subterfuge either. That's
right.
it.
Right. It's like, you want to bang? You know, like...
He gives a line about him being a spy, but an industrial one just stealing patent secrets. She lets him out. Like, damn, dude, she didn't even get the D.
No, she didn't.
He uses the scalpel to slice her dress straps. Oh, the things I do for England.
I don't understand how she went from "I'm gonna torture you" to "Yeah, give me that D."
He said, "What's a pretty girl like you do in a place like this?" That's it.
That's it. That's all he said.
Dissolved to an Aero Commander 200 taking off, piloted by Brandt, with Bond in the rear. She drops her lipstick tube, which is a flashbang, and traps him with a plank of wood as she dives out of the plane with a parachute. The plane nosedives at speeds over 300 knots before the analog dial maxes out. That plane should be breaking apart.
It should be falling completely apart. I'm not sure that the writers completely understand physics.
But Bond wriggles his hand out and karate chops the wood. He dives into the pilot seat and pulls up hard, making an emergency landing that does destroy the plane, with Bond bailing out just in time.
Lucky fucker.
For real, honestly.
For real.
These scenes were shot over a very English-looking countryside in Buckinghamshire, whereas this was supposed to be in Japan.
Yeah.
Later on with Tiger, Bond plays it off like he never touched Brandt to Aki.
Plays it off. He straight lies to that girl.
He straight lies to her. Yeah, he straight lies to her. He's like, she would never touch that horrible woman. Oh, heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid.
Tiger says he figured out that those diving girls were at the island of Matsu. He also shows photos proving the Ningpo unloaded somewhere in that area. Now, needing to survey that island fast, Bond goes to see the man and girl that he requested be sent. And surprise, it's Q.
Good old Q. I'm never going to get tired of seeing this man, and I'm going to cry a little bit like I did when he's no longer with us all over again.
Bond asks Q if his girl is hot and ready, as techs come out and open 4 cases laden with parts. Q was given a gold-painted convertible 1966 Pontiac Parisienne, apparently for his time around in Japan. Check the background. The techs assemble Little Nelly, a small, one-man gyrocopter in a succession of 1 frame a second stills, like a slideshow in a movie. This is actually my biggest complaint about the movie so far.
It was done like a instructional video we used to watch on TV from like Disney or something. They used to do little videos like that. So
just make a quip about how he's glad he's not one of the techs putting it together and then fade to it complete.
Yeah. Or they wanted to show how they really put together this real-ass gyrocopter.
They really wanted to, yeah. That was the thing.
Yeah.
That was lame.
It is kind of lame nowadays, but back in the day, that thing was so fucking high-tech that people wanted to see.
You should never have a slideshow in your movie.
You should never have a slideshow in your movie.
Little Nelly has had some improvements. 2 machine guns with high explosive and incendiary rounds, 2 rocket launchers, 2 heat-seeking missiles, 2 flamethrowers, and 2 smoke ejectors, with aerial mines as the cherry. Now, the Wallace WA-116 Agile is a British autogyro developed in the early 1960s by former Royal Air Force Wing Commander Ken Wallace, and Wallace is also the pilot for all the functional shots of this craft. Now, the gimmick being the ultralight craft could easily be transported and assembled, depending on your definition of the word easy.
Right.
Ergo, the slideshow from earlier. 85 takeoffs and landings, 46 hours in the air for 7.5 minutes on the screen.
For real? That's pretty amazing.
Insane.
That dude was like, yeah, I'll take it up. Yeah, I got that.
The craft zooms into the air, and we cut to composited Connery. Duh.
I'm beginning to lose a little respect for Sean Connery.
He doesn't do his own stunts.
Not one stunt.
Not a single stunt.
Not a single stunt.
He went in the water with the sharks because he thought there was plexiglass.
Because he thought it was safe, right?
Bond buzzes Q twice with the gyrocopter before heading off. What a dick.
Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full.
Bond flies over the island, spots the girls and the volcano, and decides there's nothing there. All the bad guys had to do was trust their camouflage, but instead, the shadows on the ground multiply as a squad of helicopters move to intercept Bond in the air, telling him he's in the right place. This is really a battle of who's got the better weapons installed as toy helicopters explode or are thrown into cliffside models whilst in flames. Seriously, though,
right?
They have machine guns, and Bond has everything I said before, so they're toast.
They are toast. Except that's not exactly how heat-seeking rockets work.
Numbers shall not save these guys, just extend the scene.
Right.
Aerial cameraman John Jordan had a foot cut off during an accident filming the Little Nelly dogfight sequence. An updraft caused a helicopter to lift up into his, and a rotor took off his foot. The updrafted helicopter crashed, but the pilot was fine, and Jordan's copter landed. Now, John Jordan would have his leg completely amputated, come back and finish filming, and he would die in 1969 after falling from an exposed tail turret of a bomber whilst filming the war film Catch-22, as he insisted on being unharnessed. He will also work on Her Majesty's Secret Service before that happens, though.
What? This dude was a legend. He's a
Yes.
fucking bloody legend, homie.
Yes, not wrong. I've seen video of him working. He would like strap a fan to his back and a parachute and go up in the sky with a camera. He's nuts.
That is nuts. He's nuts.
Dude, the doctors wanted him to stay in the hospital a lot longer and try and save
that's
his
why he
leg.
cut
And he
his
was like,
leg
cut
off.
this thing off so I could go fucking film this movie.
Right. Wow. Nuts.
One more thing. I feel like it would have been smarter to not add parachutes to the aerial mines that Q added to Nelly. It took so long to get to the target. Thank God he didn't move.
That was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen before in my life. It was like little parachute that wouldn't even hit the rotors. Physics, Matthew, physics.
These mines wouldn't even work on a plane without some serious leading, so get good at trig. What I'm saying is Bond probably took a first in trig at Cambridge.
He must have. You don't remember that sniper shot into the helicopter just to drop a
and
grenade?
From Russia with Love?
Yeah.
In the helicopter?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
Bond's really good at trig.
Really good.
The fight makes use of all the gadgets and all the goons. It's exciting, it's slightly padded, but it ends with a coup de grace of both heat-seeking missiles firing and peeling around at the last baddie, exploding with the final hit of the Bond theme.
Oh, man.
And you're right, they don't work like that.
So, when you fire heat-seeking missiles forward out of your vehicle, they don't immediately turn around 180 degrees and strike the next thing.
Even if they did, you're in between those missiles and your heated target. Meanwhile, Soviet Russians put a rocket into space without blowing themselves up. Yay.
Yay. Why would they do that? Like, they just watched the Americans lose a capsule, and they know damn well it wasn't them. But let's put one up there anyway. See what happens.
That's a good point. Lawrence Herder and Richard Graydon play the cosmonauts. Their capsule floats through space as, yup, you guessed it, the odd, large craft from before comes and Pac-Mans the Russians. Yum.
Again, the logic astounds me. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. That's Russian logic, though.
Yeah.
The cannibal capsule fires thrusters, turns upright, and slowly descends with a constant burn. A lot of fuel was used for this. Magic rocket engines.
Oh, man. The space special effects, I gotta say, they were just horrible.
Inside of a huge, cavernous installation, we see men prepping some stuff dealing with rocketry. A circular trapdoor at the top is the size of a small lake, because in fact it is. It's the same small lake that Bond hovered over at the top of the volcano he checked out with Nelly. The water is not real. It's all subterfuge. That was my point about their camouflage earlier. So cut to the Pentagon, as when the Americans were space-napped and blamed the Russians, so too the Russians blame the Americans. So this could leave the Cold War on a knife's edge. And I love this. I was telling you this. Dr. No was like, I don't care about Americans or Russians. Goldfinger was like, I'll crash America for my wealth, and sure, it'll benefit its enemies, but who cares? And Thunderball was all about diamonds at the end of the day. Not since From Russia with Love has the Cold War spy actually been involved with high stakes in the Cold War. Back to the rocket. The rocket lands, and surprise, surprise, it was Elon Musk the whole time.
Bum, bum, bum. Apparently, Spectre had recoverable space vehicles decades before America and NASA could get them. Just pointing that out.
That's why I think it was Elon Musk the whole time. We were right about him being a Bond villain. The base resets to normal after the landing, and the mysterious number 1 turns, and we see him petting his pussy. Although, he sounds like he's been eating nothing but lozenges since we heard him last.
Yes, he does sound a lot different.
They retrieve the Russian craft and the men inside, who are taken away on a really cool but very sketchy looking minecart monorail that almost shook off when it hit a curve.
Yeah, that thing looked sketchy as fuck. I don't think I would have
It
ridden
really
it.
did.
It did.
Every time you saw someone on it, it was like wobbling.
Yeah.
The Volcano set was quoted at $1 million at design by Adam. It's no longer film set building, but something quite different, Adam said. It towered over Pinewood Studios. One crewman said the producers probably thought Adam was working in feet when he was actually working in meters.
Wow.
This thing is grand and
It is.
huge, but in the best, perfect way.
It is.
It feels like exactly what it is, and it's not models composited. There's really people on this giant base that towers over 120 feet high.
Yep.
This is why a lot of people say this is the true beginning of epic Bond.
Yeah, because the scale was just totally epic. It's way more epic than any of the other ones before it.
It's insane. Number 1 meets with Spectre number 3 and 4, played by returning Burt Kwok and Michael Chow, respectively, in his office. He extorts their Chinese government for more money. To illustrate his point, he has his bodyguard Hans throw a chunk of meat into his office apartment moat with piranhas in it, and they strip it in a moment. Yes, you heard all of that correctly.
You absolutely heard all of that correctly. His office has a moat with piranha.
He calls in Osato and number 11, which is Helga Brandt apparently. Number 1 is pissed that Bond is alive and they let him go, telling them to leave. Osato makes it across the shiny bridge that's totally not a trap slide into the piranha moat, but Helga Brandt does not.
You can't see the giant trap door that is the bridge. I'd have put one foot on that bridge and been like, ah.
It's like they knew they were sweating, but I would have just jumped it.
Yeah. Like, all right. See you later, boss.
She is instantly consumed, and everyone in the room watches, sweating. Number 1 demands Bond now, and his celibate image. No, I'm kidding. Back at Tiger's, Bond is worried that the next stolen flight will mean war and wants to storm the volcano. He needs men and asks for commanders. Tiger says, "Nah, mate, but I've got ninjas."
Ninjas.
In fact, we're in his top secret ninja training school as 100 ninjas suddenly start screaming on their left, like y'all didn't notice them super spy my ass.
Right? We're at a ninja training school and it seems deserted until he says it's a ninja training school and the ninjas suddenly appear and start training. I'm like, where the fuck do you ninjas come from? And what, aren't you supposed to be training? Well, what part?
They were waiting for their cue.
Right?
We are treated to a montage of ninjas showing off their training moves. It's fast-paced and sick as fuck. Think that scene from the beginning of From Russia with Love, but way more badass.
Way more badass.
Tiger also has what he calls modern ninjas. Ninjas with motherfucking guns, yo. Tiger is going to use 100 of these modern ninjas to storm the place, because anything worth doing is worth doing right.
And with machine guns.
Also, all the guns have rocket-propelled ammunition for some reason. Jesus, Tiger.
So, the rocket bullets, they're gyrojet bullets, and they're real.
Fuck off.
They don't make them anymore. And they were want to shoot a couple, and this guy happened to have a few. And they shot some.
I thought it was the most retarded thing ever.
Yeah, no. They're real bullets, and they have real little rocket
There's a reason
jets.
they don't make them anymore.
And they really don't make them anymore. Yes.
To top himself further, Tiger has many versions of these hidden in cigarettes that are activated when lit. It can save your life, this cigarette. Tiger foreshadows, as Bond retorts, "You sound like a commercial." I would have said, well, Osato did say they were deadly.
Right.
That would have been a better line there.
Yep.
Tiger wants to hide and train Bond while he gets it all ready. He'll disguise him as a Japanese and marry him to a Japanese woman for cover. He and Aki embrace happily as Tiger says, "Nah, mate, an island ama girl." Hearing this, Bond only cares if she's pretty, and Tiger says she has the face of a pig.
That's his one concern, and it's a pressing concern.
A lot of people say that they love this movie, but they hate this, that they dress Bond up like a Japanese person, and it ruins it. I even saw a person literally tonight in the Bond group say that it's the worst Connery film because they do this to him. And I was like, in Dr. No, they literally have every Asian person played by a white person with prosthetic eyelids.
Right.
And that's in real life. And here, they're trying to hide a white man on a small Japanese island.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually makes fucking sense.
Right.
Like,
No.
shut the fuck up. It's within the character. It's not an actor doing it. They got real people. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the problematic one to you? You guys are dumb. Honestly, if you think this one's problematic, you're dumb. Dr. No was way more problematic than
Way
this.
more problematic.
This is respectful compared to everything they've done before.
Right?
Cut to Bond in an operating room that was definitely done by Adams' team, similar to the Doppler conference room from the beginning. This is kind of silly how serious this is. She calls out like a surgeon what to do, and they repeat it back while doing it, but it's just a latex eyelid and a wig. Remember all that hair he has on his body that Japanese men don't?
Yeah.
What do? Shave it?
Nope.
No, rub it with a lemon.
Yeah.
Which works in the movie, by the way, as well as in real life, because Bond walks in looking like Sean Connery in a wig and on no sleep. And you could see his chest hair coming right out of that robe.
Right out of the robe.
He finds Aki in bed, and she tells him to do everything Japanese style from now on before kissing him. As they get busy, Japanese style, a hatch opens in the roof. An assassin, played by David Taguri, crawls in super slowly, super quietly, looking down at Bond and Aki sleeping. He unrolls some thread and hangs it over Bond's mouth before dripping poison down the line. And at the last second, Bond rolls over, and Aki accidentally gets the poison drops. She immediately goes into cardiac arrest, and Bond, awakened, shoots the man from the rafters. Aki dies, and this is the first time, honestly now, that we've gone back over these with a fine-tooth comb, that Connery's Bond has shown detachment to one of his lover's deaths.
Yep.
He's always so butthurt about this. This is the first time he looked like, yeah, she's dead, but we gotta do the job.
Yeah, we got a job to do.
Dissolved to Bond training and another montage. Dude breaks a huge ice block with his head. These are dope.
A window into Eastern culture from back in the 60s.
Bond is sparring with a ninja with a staff. At the end, when Bond is all, good game, buddy, the man hits a switchblade from the end of the bamboo staff and tries to spear Bond. Bond takes the staff and does unto others to the outside assassin.
I like how they were sparring and Bond was obviously getting his ass kicked. Until they had a knife on the end, and then obviously Bond is an expert. Just snatches it from the guy and stabs him with it. Like, yep, I could have done that the whole time. Just letting you know.
I was just fucking with you. White savior. The next day, Bond is to be married. At a shrine on top of a mountain, he awaits his bride with a sour face. Two women come up, one ugly, one old, and Bond frowns. Then finally, the last one is pretty and young, and stands next to him to his pleasant surprise. This is Kissy Suzuki, played by May Hama, and, as I said before, dubbed by Nikki Vandersill, but at least she doesn't sound exactly like Honey Rider this time.
Funny.
Mai Hama is the one who threatened suicide, and she got the smaller part and no microphone.
Okay. The window dressing that's in every Japanese action film, because there's always a female lead.
Bond is married to Kissy, and it's kind of a nice ceremony, honestly.
It is. It's not bad. It's cool. It's traditional.
Now, in the novel You Only Live Twice, Bond has amnesia and forms a relationship with Kissy, impregnating her unbeknownst to him before he leaves the island. I've been on a crash course of these novels, by the way. Casino Royale 67, Bond loves tea. Novel Bond hates tea and blames it for the fall of the Empire. Drinks strong coffee, so that explains our Bond coffee scenes in the earlier films. But really, I've noticed that Bond just kind of does as the Romans does when in Rome also. You know what I mean? Like warm sake.
Oh, yeah, warm sake. He is a culture chameleon.
Novel Bond smokes 70 cigarettes a day and does meth, by the way.
I'm pretty sure Novel Bond should have died of lung cancer a long time ago, but yeah.
Back to the movie. After being married, Bond is taken back with the Ama girl as her new husband. I'd talk shit about Connery speaking Japanese like an Englishman, but at least he spoke Japanese.
Like I said, his Japanese is, I don't know, technically okay, but
It's Connery.
Like, I still don't understand.
He doesn't sound like a Japanese man speaking Japanese. He sounds like a Westerner speaking Japanese.
Yeah, not even, I don't know.
I feel like they know that, though. He doesn't talk to anyone, really.
Yeah, he doesn't speak much Japanese, thank God.
As they come ashore, they notice a small funeral being held for a young Ama girl who'd been exploring a nearby cave along the shoreline. When the girl's boat floated out of the cave, she was mysteriously dead. Now, Ama girls are pearl divers, by the way, and this was the 60s, so she died for your grandma's necklace. You think about that.
Post-war Japan was a very strange place.
At Kissy's house, she serves him oysters and shows him his bed, saying, "We will sleep separately." "But we were married," he says. "You gave a false name to the priest." "Yes, but we must keep up appearances. It's our honeymoon." "Ah, think again. This is business." "No, not tiger business."
Nope, not tiger business. All business.
Bond pushes away the oysters, saying he'll no longer need them.
One of my favorite one-liners in the whole show.
Cut to a wide of the shore that dissolves into the exact same spot and shot, but at night. Very nicely done.
It is. The cinematography is pretty good.
I'm telling you, the transitions are a treat in this.
Yeah.
Tiger sneaks into Bond's house and tells him that the Americans have pushed their next launch to tonight at midnight local Japanese time. They've also dared the Russians to fuck with them, basically.
Again. You know you didn't grab the Russian ship, but you blame the Russians for grabbing for yours and theirs, I guess. So let's send up another ship. See what happens.
Bond, Kissy, and Tiger all decide that the next course of action is to check out that cave the Alma girl died in. Dissolve to Alma girls departing the beach in their boats. Bond pilots Kissy's boat as they head out with them and slowly separate from the pack. And then it happens. The worst compositing in the series so far. Applaud yourself, Peter. You've outdone yourself. I've seen shit footage in the back, different stocks and different qualities. It's not even that bad on those fronts, but seeing this static girl blocked center frame while the background undulates behind her is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in 4K. I died laughing. I watched it a couple of times and then I showed it to my girlfriend, who told me to leave her alone.
Yeah, that's funny. Just like they slapped a picture of her onto a movie screen.
It feels like you're watching a movie with a sticker in front of it.
It does.
The Alma girls all dive for pearls in the bay as those two go to look for the cave. Now, Connery's wife at the time, Diane Salento, doubled for the diving girls as the ocean currents were too strong for most of the actresses. So almost all of the shots you see of someone diving in or getting out of the bay is actually Connery's wife.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Kind of hot.
They find the cave, which is large and, well, cavernous.
It's a cave.
But oddly enough, it looks of styrofoam and oddly Kenadamian.
Are you saying it looked like a Ken Adams sculpted cave?
Dude, I've never looked at a cave before and been like, man, that looks like Ken Adams made that cave. But I looked at this cave and I was like, Ken Adams made that cave.
Funny.
Bond smells phosgene gas, which does have a grassy smell. I looked it up. And they dive overboard, swimming out of the cave. Bond also saw and smelled sulfur, and boom, he knows it's a lava tube and that it goes to that one fuck-off smoking mountain in the background and not any of the closer ones to the cave.
Nope, it goes all the way to where I need to go.
Convenient. They hike to the top of the volcano and take a break for some smoochies when a helicopter flies overhead before lowering into the caldera of the volcano. This fucking volcano layer set is so fucking epic that you can fly a goddamn helicopter in it. And it's on the shot list, so you will fly a helicopter in it. Fucking insane.
It is insane. It's a monster set. I'm pretty sure I had a toy set that was a volcano play set like that back in the day.
That's nuts. It's a freaking hollowed out volcano.
Yep.
When Bond and Kissy get over the top, they only see the lake. And Bond says, "This volcano isn't active, is it?" And she says, "No." "But it was fucking smoking when you were pointing at it like, let's go there."
Right? You saw the smoke coming from it. It looked active from down there.
Cut to the Pentagon, not NASA, where we watched the real launch of a rocket. Treat. No models there. I like that.
No models, no. Dealing with American rocket footage, we're going to put in the real stuff.
We hard cut from the bright Florida clouds to the cloudy night sky over Japan. Again, nicely fucking done, you guys.
A nice touch.
Bond and Kissy climb into the caldera and Bond throws a stone at the lake. The stone clangs and bounces, revealing the lake to be metal. Bond walks out onto it as it starts to open.
Nobody inside heard that? Not one person.
I think about that every fucking time I watch that movie.
I do too, every time. It's like, not one person heard the timpani at the top of your base.
Dong, 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 dong.
What the fuck was that? Oh, just another rock on the top of the lake.
With the American craft out in space, the volcano base is prepping to launch their craft. The helicopter flies out of the base again, and Bond sends Kissy to tell Tiger to send every man he's got. Meanwhile, Bond suits up in an odd frog suit. I know it's supposed to be a ninja-inspired tactical outfit of some kind, but it really looks like a shitty scuba suit.
It does look like a shitty scuba suit. Bright gray ninja outfit. I don't know what the wardrobe was trying to think. It's like tactical ninja.
That sucked, yeah. Tactical ninja, and it sucked.
Yeah.
It also has suction cups on the hands and knees. Why knees and not the tip of the feet? I don't know. Maybe Bond loves scaling things in the sitting position the whole time. That's his thing. It's actually called the Bond technique in the climbing community.
Is it really?
No, that's bullshit. Are you fucking kidding me?
All right.
It's because they wanted to shoot him on his hands and knees crawling on the ground and then flip it upside down.
Yeah, I know. He couldn't be fucked off enough to do it on his toes, but whatever.
They also keep cutting back and forth between shots of him coming down. Now, the wide shot very clearly has a pipe underneath him, the length of the climb, and the close-ups do not. The close-ups are just, as I said, Connery on his hands and knees and then flipped in post.
Yeah.
We cut to the 2 American astronauts in space to remind the audience about that. They are played by Bill Mitchell and George Rubicek. Hard cut back to Bond as he's hiding under a tarp on the monorail, scoping the place out and being taken to where the Astro prisoners are being held. Bond blows the lock with a small firecracker he's been carrying up his ass. And he and the astronauts fight the guards that rush in. Mostly the astronauts, because Connery slightly lifts one knee and then throws the last punch.
And hides behind the corner so none of the guards notice him. Again, nobody checks the corners.
He tells the astronauts to get into the guards' uniforms, and we cut to Kissy swimming out in the bay and being shot at by the helicopter we saw leaving the lair. Being an Ama girl, she dives, and they duck out, believing her dead. And again, like Thunderball, we're not going to check. Fuck off.
Fuck off.
You think we're going to check that? We don't even check corners.
Right?
Cut back to Bond and company, now in uniform. They walk to where the astronaut goons are changing and beat one of them with nightsticks. After getting Bond into a spacesuit and helmet, Bond gets on the monorail and goes with the others to the rocket ship. And Bond is about to get on the rocket. He's like a step in, giving us Moonraker a decade early.
Almost got James Bond in space. But our villain is crafty.
He is, because number 1 comes over the radio and says, "Stop that astronaut. Bring him to me and send a reserve, now." So Bond is taken to see the mysterious number 1. Number 1 says, "You made a mistake, my friend. No astronaut would ever enter the capsule carrying his air conditioner," and has Bond's helmet removed. "James Bond, allow me to introduce myself. I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld." As a badly scarred Donald Pleasance leans out of his chair, revealing the man for the first time ever in the series.
Bum, bum, bum. We finally get a look at Donald Pleasance as Ernst Blofeld. His makeup is horrible.
It's not as bad as his makeup would be in the later Halloween series.
That's true. And you're right. He was very effeminate. I kept expecting him to stick his pinky in his mouth. I really did.
He was incredibly effeminate, and honestly, like, he comes off kind of weak. Like,
not very threatening.
That's another thing I see in Bond groups of people who I feel like don't watch this movie or just listen to other people, is like, they're like, "Oh, this guy's definitely the best Blofeld ever." But honestly, in the very next movie, Terry Savalas is going to play this character the exact same way, but just so much more actually menacing.
Yeah.
He's still going to be effeminate, but it's not going to take away from him. Like,
right.
I don't know. I love Donald Pleasance. I was saying this to you, but I really don't think he was a win here, actually. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
They told me you'd been assassinated. Yes, this is my second life. You only lived twice, Mr. Bond.
And there you get the title.
Roll credits. Blofeld's plan here is to start a war and have America and Russia annihilate each other, and then Spectre will take over as the dominant superpower. Or something. It's less A plus blank equals profits and more A plus B equals question mark.
Right.
What I mean is the parts make sense, but the outcome does not. So make America and Russia annihilate each other, and the Spectre will take over as the dominant superpower. There's no guarantee of that. Like, there's so many more. There's so many more things missing. Hold on, we'll get back. We'll come back around to this. Actually, they search Bond and take off his spacesuit. The rocket fires from the lair. And I guess it's important to mention that it's marked with all sorts of Soviet livery.
Yep, they took the time to paint this rocket Russian.
Back on the outside of the volcano, Tiger Tanaka has arrived with a shit ton of modern ninjas in that shitty tactical scuba suit. And Kissy, who's barely wearing anything. I hope it's a warm 1 a.m. over there. Some men in the control room watching the dailies report that men are in the crater, and Blofeld has crater guns open fire. These are automatic turrets that are rather effective for 60s targeting technology.
Yeah, well, I guess if you have enough guns and they're all pointed different directions, you're going to cover a lot of ground.
There's even unmanned mortars somehow.
Yeah, right? I noticed that too. I was like, is that a fucking mortar? Who loaded that?
Blofeld gloats, and Donald Pleasance plays him effeminate, as I was saying, but slightly creepy and in an unhinged way. I'll give him that. Bond asks for one of his cigarettes, which Blofeld stupidly gives him.
Oh, man. Why do people
Don't
give him
give people
stuff?
cigarettes.
Right? It could be poison. It could be a rocket. You just never know.
Of course, when lit, it fires a patented Tiger Tanaka rocket bullet. So Bond, surrounded by threats, lights the cigarette fuse and aims it at the one dude who's literally falling asleep on a broomstick, killing him and rousing alarm. Now he's fighting everyone who is closer and actually alert. He flips a switch, and the lake retracts for a moment, allowing modern ninjas to spill in before it's closed again. They throw down fire hoses and drop down really fast with braking devices. Now, one of the stuntmen broke his leg as he was going down so fast and didn't brake hard enough. This film also helped launch, no pun intended, the use of trampolines for stuntmen. The trampolines being yet another thing that caused injury on the set of this film, it turned out.
There's a lot of high-flying stunts.
Bunch of 60s stiff stuntmen who didn't know how to jump on a trampoline yet.
Well, I watched one guy fucking put his hands together and arms out when he was coming down for a landing, like in a classic circus pose. I was like, that dude is over there doing tricks.
I watched one dude hit the ground with squibs shooting out of him.
Yes, I
I
saw
was
that
like,
guy.
that guy's doing stunts.
Mhm.
And the climactic battle is on. Gunfire, explosions, and stunt dives. The works. The ninjas blow a hole in the lake for the rest of the ninjas to pour through, and the battle escalates. No finger-applied ketchup packets here.
Yeah. Real honest-to-God squib work. I was impressed. I was like, wow, they're using squibs.
One ninja took on 7 goons with a katana in a brilliant bit of choreography that I know for a fact that Bob Simmons had absolutely nothing to fucking do with.
No, I don't know how much Bob Simmons had anything to do with anything in this movie.
Blofeld had thought his office impregnable, but Tiger's rocket bullets prove him wrong. So Blofeld, Hans, Osato, and Bond all retreat. Blofeld pulls out a gun and points it at Bond, saying, "This is the price of failure," before turning it and shooting Osato. Dude, just kill Bond. What the fuck?
You're right? This is the price of failure. I need to show you the example. See, I kill people when they fail me. You seem to be very successful, Mr. Bond, so I guess I'm not going to kill you.
Is that it? Is that it?
I guess.
That's it.
I guess. That's the point he was trying to illustrate.
Blofeld orders Bond through a secret door that takes him right back to the main area. The most useless shortcut of all time.
Yeah, I don't understand what that door was for.
We evacuated the office to get away from the main area, so we went through like the control center through my office into the main area. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Blofeld sits in his seat on the monorail and points his gun at Bond, saying goodbye, when Tiger hits his wrist with a shuriken. Blofeld drops a revolver, and his cart takes off, presumably to kill himself for the price of failure.
Right?
The lair is getting destroyed proper, and the control room is evacuated. Bond and Tiger need to get to the control room, but it's too heavily defended. But Bond sees the techs evacuating and says there must be another way in. Dude, yeah, Blofeld just took you out the back a minute ago.
Right? So, why do they need to get back to the control room? To get to the exploder button. That's what they called it. And Blofeld happened to point it out to Bond, like, make eye contact with him. When he said, "This is the exploder button, and I have the only key."
Why would you do that, Blofeld?
What?
And he gives the key to Hans.
Yes.
Tiger lays down the machine fire. Bond throws the grenades, and they're in business, baby. Not Tiger business. Business.
Business. All business.
Bond shoots one goon and shurikens another to get to the back entrance, where he finds Hans guarding the way over the piranha moat.
Well, you definitely are going to have Sean Connery have at least one scene of him using a ninja weapon.
Bond tries to fight, but Hans, like Oddjob, is a damn near immovable object, and the fight is pretty one-sided until Bond flips him into the moat, saying, "Bon appetit."
How did he know piranha were in there? At no point did Blofeld tell him about the piranha. At no point did he see Piranha.
He shouldn't have known.
I'm just saying.
Well, it's really funny to me that Hans was literally booked like a big man.
Mm-hmm.
And how did big men usually go down to the smaller guy? He sunset flips him,
Yeah.
and Bond flips this guy in the end.
I was just thinking to myself, Bond has the same weakness as Salt and Pepper. Men.
On the monitors in the control room, we see the evil space capsule about to Pac-Man swallow the American one and start World War III. Bombers are already in the air and generals are at the ready. There's meters to spare. Bond gets the control key in the abort lock and smashes the big red button. And with feet to spare, it blows up like fireworks. Bond smiles. 5 seconds left on the intercept clock. That thing was so close that if it did blow up, it would have affected the other craft anyways, but whatever.
Yeah, right. I was going to say again, the writers don't understand physics.
The evil craft blown up, all militaries stand down. Bond congratulates Tiger as Blofeld hits his self-destruct button on his way out of the lair.
Apparently, it's cool to have a self-destruct button that you have the key for right by the exit door for an entire volcano. And it wasn't just a self-destruct button, it was a volcano erupt button.
It kind of means that all your employees have a lot of trust in you.
Right?
You don't have a bad day, you don't just say fuck it on the way out.
Why is this fire extinguisher locked? Oh, that's not the fire extinguisher, that's Boss's Island eruptor.
Why do we work here? So he's gonna blow up the whole place, and they're just like, amazing set, Ken, let's blow it up.
Right?
Cut to the worst composited lava in a Bond film.
Is there other lava in a Bond film?
No, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, yes. It is still pretty bad.
There's also a bunch of explosions. Everyone swims out of the cave as planes drop a shit ton of life rafts. Continuing the tradition, once again, of these early Bond films ending on or right next to the water. Dissolve to a fiery sunrise and Bond drifting with Kissy on a raft. Now about that honeymoon. But they'll never let you stay. They'll never find us, he says, as a submarine surfaces literally underneath them, hoisting them out of the water.
Filmed backwards, but nicely done.
For this movie, I want to give it, honestly, like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to give it a B+. And this was really hard for me. I almost gave it an A-. This movie gets a really bad rep, and after a while of not seeing it, even I had talked some shit, and there is a lot wrong with it on a technical level. But I enjoyed the shit out of this movie, and my time watching it so closely.
I'm going to agree with you, except for the grade. I'm going to give this movie an A-, strictly because I'm a Japanophile, and I could see all of my wushu favorite movies in this movie. And again, thank you Toho Studios for saving otherwise poor James Bond movie. Because without the influence of the Eastern martial arts community and film community, I think this movie would have been the worst.
But really, thank you for an experience, Toho, and going back and oh man, I really wish I appreciated this more when I was younger, to the point where I didn't abandon it for decades.
Right? And I'm sorry I haven't watched it in a while.
So for the kill count, how many do you think Bond kills in this movie?
Bond kills, I'm going to say 110 people.
Jesus, that was the last movie. Bond kills 21, and 175 people die from other means, with a grand total of 196. Now, within the main canon, that is still a high.
Didn't everybody in the volcano die? I didn't see like a bunch of boats fleeing the volcano or anything like that.
How many people were in that volcano?
I don't know. It was it's a huge
it looked
place.
like, what, 30?
Maybe more.
Yeah, but at any given time, I never saw more than a handful.
Yeah, until it was...
It's like a big ship run on a skeleton crew. For the pre-title, I put it's a little drawn out for what it is. Space shots, suits arguing, and Bond faking his death at the very end. Beneath From Russia with Love, so 5th place for me.
I'm going to say Beneath From Russia with Love as well.
How about for the title or the theme?
I'm going to put this one just above From Russia with Love.
Nice.
Just above.
Okay.
Because I hated From Russia with Love.
Right? I wrote, the line art was wonky. The imagery was nice, but kind of boring, honestly. And I don't like the song. I don't like the song at all. I know that I'm going to get flack for that, but this Nancy Sinatra song is not my bag, baby.
Yeah, I didn't like the song either.
I still liked it more than From Russia with Love's opening sequence, so 4th place. Moneypenny pickup line. I put some flirtatious ribbing, and Moneypenny tries to get him to say I love you to her, but better than nothing or calling her
Right.
government property, so 3rd place.
3rd place. It was very run-of-the-mill. I put sweet and simple. I'm going to rate it about the same. Better than nothing at all.
For Q gadgets, Q shows up with little Nelly, and Tiger really has the gadgets. The rest he pulls out of his ass. 4th place for me after From Russia, but before no.
I might put this in 3rd place because it's behind both the cars. I like the auto gyro. I mean, that was dope.
I thought it was so silly. For cars, Aki's bespoke Toyota 2000 GT convertible is our Bond car here. He doesn't drive it, but it's the closest thing. And I'm giving it last place. And it's not that I didn't like it, it's just I've literally liked everything else that's come before more.
Yeah.
Including the Alpine Sunbeam.
Yeah. I'm giving it last place. Simply for the fact that Bond didn't drive it and it's just a little GT.
It's a bespoke GT, but it's a Toyota GT.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to rank higher than anything else on this list. I'm sorry.
Right. Sorry, Toyota fans.
Main ally, Tiger Tanaka. This guy is cool. He's a Japanese Bond. He has a ninja training school. He's head of a Japanese secret service. He has slave women and a palace. He's got ninjas at the ready. But more importantly, he has hundreds of dudes with guns. I mean, modern ninjas when you need him. It feels like they tried to do Karim Bey again, but more like Bond.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the soul of Karim, and he just kind of comes off like a Japanese madman of the era. So for me, 3rd place.
3rd place? Really? I'm giving him number 2 just behind Karim.
Well, he's just behind Karim for me, but Karim is in 2nd place for me because Thunderball Lighter got the fucking Navy.
Yeah. Well, no. Thunderball Lighter is in 3rd place for me. Sorry. Because Karim Bey is... Rest in peace, Karim.
Villains. Ernst Stavro. Blofeld.
I finally get my Blofeld.
6 missions in. Here we go.
Here we go. That's it.
Where's he at?
He's at the top.
That's it.
That's it.
He's at the top.
He's at the top. He's the best Bond villain. And I think I like the Telly Savalas. I'm going to have to watch it, but I think I like Telly Savalas' Blofeld better. I think that's the one that really...
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to their next mission, honestly. 3rd place. Man, I wasn't feeling him the way I felt Goldfinger or even Largo.
Yeah.
He was everything I said before. He's bloody Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't there for me. I saw a weak fool that thought he was better than everyone, but exhibited no reason for it. I was just wondering if he was going to go commit suicide since he failed the whole time, so 3rd place for me.
There you go.
The main hinch. Osato is the main hinch, as Brandt is a rope-a-dope and is killed off early, and Hans is introduced far too late. Osato is a weak, scared lackey along for the ride to his death.
He ties with the doctor. I'm sorry.
He's smart and played well. He's confident at first, but fearful later in the face of reality. I give him 2nd to last place because he's still better than Dent to me.
Okay, he's still better than Dent. You're right. He is better than Dent. But fuck.
But barely.
He's not a henchman. You're not a henchman.
He was a pawn.
Yeah.
That was a good part. That was the rope-a-dope with him and his character, and also Brandt also.
Right.
You know, they were trying to like not do the exact same thing with them, basically. Bond girl. Aki/Kissy. And me, I'm counting these two as one because I feel like that this was one part that got cut into 2 to have more girls on screen, which is why they killed Aki.
Right. I think you're right. I will go with that.
Especially considering the writer said he wrote this screenplay for 1 girl and that they turned around and asked him to write it for 3. So, pretending Aki and Kissy are now 1 role, because I hate Kissy, and we're just going to call it Aki.
I'm going to put them in number 3.
Oh. She saves him twice with her car in the same place in the same way, but that's actually about it. So I'm going with 3rd place.
Yeah, I think we're going 3rd place. Yeah.
So Aki's in 3rd place. One-liner.
Oh.
None of them were good. All either groaners or just non-responsors, so I guess I'll go with, The Things I Do for England. 5th place for me.
Enjoy serving under you. That was Aki's one-liner.
The best one-liners belong to other people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. 5th place.
Locations: Hong Kong, Japan, and space.
I'm going to rate this
With them actually shooting in Hong Kong and Japan.
right.
The space was a joke.
I know space was a joke, but I think I might put this number 1 because they sure got a good use of all of the locations that they had.
Yeah, wow, a new number 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was looking at this, I was like, man, they really did get their money's worth from those helicopters, and Japan is fucking beautiful.
Gorgeous. I got to give it first place. I said, they not only shot there and absorbed the culture, they respected it and had a Japanese studio help bring it to life. No Canadians playing Japanese here. First fucking place.
Yeah, first place.
Protracted attempt to kill Bond. Blofeld having Bond follow him around for no reason to draw out shooting him. 4th place. Remember, Dr. No didn't even have one, and Casino Royale 67 was a protracted attempt to kill me, so this is technically last place of the ones who tried.
Yeah, there was no real, airplane crash, but that's not really protracted, so we're going to have to put this one just above Dr. No's 4th place, yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, for like the airplane crash, it's like, yeah, he had time to get out and escape, but it's not like I put you on a table and start a laser 10 feet away and watch it slowly crawl to you.
Yeah.
Like they trapped him on a plane and bailed out, and it was actively falling from the sky.
And everything else was an assassination attempt, and not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mission or plot. A double false flag operation to trick the two nuclear superpowers into destroying each other during the Cold War by boosting their space cars. Then take over somehow. Grand in scope, not much in logic. Still makes more sense than toppling rockets for no reason at all. 4th place.
This is gonna have to go to 3rd place.
Nice. Stunts. This movie is full of them, and they don't stop. As simple as high dives to dropping off 100-foot structures, helicopter stunts that cost someone a leg. This movie brought the shit. It helped they had all those Japanese actors in a studio and were doing a style more in line with theirs.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there and say number 1. Just
First place.
First place.
First place.
First place. Hands down.
There it is. Stunts. It's not even close.
If Bob Simmons had anything to do with this, which you keep telling me he did, I didn't notice.
I didn't notice. Anyway.
I didn't notice anywhere. So
that's hilarious. The score.
We've talked about this outside of the cast a little bit, and you're absolutely right. The score is boring and lazy and is probably going to get last place. However, there is a great trip-hop song by ASIAN called Trip to the Moon that features a sample from this song that I love. So every time I hear it, I just get a little nostalgic about that song. Not the score.
So maybe 5th place instead of
maybe
last
5th place. 5th place instead of last place. But only because of what happened after the score. So it's weird.
There's some cultural influence there that gives it some bonus points.
There you go.
I'm going to give this 5th place on score, which is last of the canon films so far.
Yeah.
John Barry is on autopilot, turning in generic 60s television music that took me out of the film twice. On 2 separate occasions, the music took me out of the film. It was so bad. 5th place. The only movie that has a worse score than this, in my opinion, is Casino Royale 67. Suck it, Burt Bacharach. And for the movie.
Overall, for right now, we're putting it...
Goldfinger's your number 1.
I know. Goldfinger is my number 1. From Russia's my number 2. And I'm trying to think if I like this better.
From Russia's my number 1.
You know, I'm going to put this up above Goldfinger because when it comes down to it, I'll watch this one again. Given a choice, like, oh, which Bond movie do you want to watch tonight?
I love this episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember this one a lot more often now. I have a much new respect, and I honestly hope anyone who listens to this does too. This movie deserves way more respect.
Way more respect, way more credit than people are giving it. And I think I fell into the same old trap. I haven't watched it in so long. I'd forgotten how much I loved this movie.
We just start to believe everyone saying everything about it. Like, oh, that's the bad one. It's like, oh, that's when it got really cheesy and crappy. It's like, but dude, we were just sitting there talking about how Thunderball would be classic if the pacing and the water scenes were better. And it's like, this blew it out of the water.
It did.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. No pun intended.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Everyone is going to hate me. It's number 2.
Nice.
Goldfinger is a better movie. Goldfinger is a technically better movie,
is.
but I enjoyed this more.
Yeah.
And the only movie that so far that I like more than this is From Russia with Love. So for me, this is my number 2 movie.
There you go.
It is beat Goldfinger. That is how much I love this movie.
There you go.
And I will agree, yes. I from a critical standpoint, on a technical standpoint, Goldfinger is made better, is less flaws.
Right.
This is more fun.
More fun. Way more fun. And for me, a movie that's more fun is always going to be better than a movie with less flaws.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And as they said, Bond will return for On Her Majesty's Secret Service, finally. And so will we. Until then,
I'm Agent Carter.
I'm Agent Sedgwick.
Stay spying, y'all.